Okay, so for the post 2, the first question was one of the self quizzes from chapter 7 and what I learned about it. So the quiz I took was the Dr. Guffey's listening quiz. I learned I have a decent learning skills, but can definitely improve on them. Some strengths of mine are showing that I'm listening by eye contact, although it's not the best sometimes. Leaning in towards a person and nodding my head, showing them that I'm listening and understand what they're saying. And however, some of my weaknesses are also holding eye contact, but also sometimes I catch myself interrupting somebody. I have been trying to work on that for a while now. I tend to see myself going to interrupt people that I'm closer to, so like my sister or my family or friends, whereas if it was like somebody I work with or a manager or one of my bosses, I would catch myself and I wouldn't interrupt, and I would wait until they're fully finished with what they have to say before I make my comment. And since I've been trying to work on that, I've also been able to focus on not interrupting the people that I'm closer with, just because I feel like I can. So I've been trying to keep myself from interrupting them. And the next question was, what are some of my listening pet peeves? And some of my listening pet peeves are people not pronouncing words correctly. Specifically words that have it's like a couple of words, like the theirs, there, and there, and then the your and you are. I feel like they have like a specific pronunciation that some people just forget about, and then although I understand what they're saying, sometimes, I don't know, it just is a pet peeve of mine not being able to hear it correctly, how they're trying to say it. And then for the second question, it was one of the self-quizzes from chapter 8, and that was more about emotions. I took the emotional intelligence test and received a 15 out of 20. So according to the test, it said that I have pretty good reading. I'm pretty good at reading expressions, but I obviously have more room for improvement if I got a 15 out of 20. But I noticed that most of the questions I was getting wrong, and the facial expressions were some that had were similarly described, like love, flirtation, and desire, and etc. They were all super similar to me, and I feel like they could easily get confused. But I think that I'm good at understanding my own emotions. But sometimes I run into the situation of being overwhelmed by my emotions and not knowing how to move forward from being in the situation of being overwhelmed by all of them, and then I just kind of build it all up. And then I would also say that I feel like I'm good at reading other people's emotions. I think that for when I was younger, my family didn't really say what was up with each other, but you could tell that something was wrong with somebody, or if something was wrong, you could just feel it. And now that I've gotten older, I feel like my whole family has just been more open with what they are feeling, and so not only was I able to kind of figure out that there was something wrong when I was younger, but as I've grown older and had that ability, but also now being told what is wrong and then being able to see it at the same time, I feel like that has improved my ability to read other people's emotions. And then some of my weaknesses are I sometimes let all my emotions build up, no matter the time frame or the circumstances, and so I just end up building them all up, and then I get to a point where I just let it all out, and then I can't figure out what caused it to try and improve for in the future for myself. So I'm trying to work on that by facing my emotions when they come in the moment, and then so I'm able to figure out what is the problem and how to move on from it. But some of my emotional pet peeves are people not telling truly how they feel, and in return you end up having to guess what they're feeling, and I have to sort that out with them. But if you don't exactly know what's wrong, it makes it harder for yourself and for them to be able to work through it. So that's post 2.